Folks, welcome into another episode of That Betting Show on SportsbookReview.com for August 22nd, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Severansky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, right side VP. We had some record-breaking moments, Teddy, in Major League Baseball action yesterday. They did it. Those Tigers cashed the ticket right into the hot topics today. The Astros closed, Teddy. I need some verification on this. Minus 600 or higher at some outlets. The largest dog in the last 15 years to cash in Major League Baseball. And how about this? Where stats sometimes lie to you. Verlander, complete game, gives up 2 hits, no walks, 11 Ks, and they lost, Teddy. What a magical night here in Major League Baseball.
Sure, and we talked about it earlier in the week, how the big favorites of minus $2 or higher have been profitable, very profitable in MLB over the last few seasons, including this year. However, the biggest favorites over the last 15 years, there have been 19 teams that have been at least plus 345 underdogs. Those teams now 10-9 in those games. The last time it's happened to the Astros twice over the last couple weeks. They had the one at Baltimore, and then obviously last night where the pitching got there. Verlander pitched a gem, but base running blunders, multiple base running blunders for Houston. They were not happy after the game. And a game where just the offense wasn't there. Look, this is a story that 2 years ago you would only hear in Las Vegas. They'd be like, oh my God, can you believe what happened last night? Da, 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 da. Now, lead story on ESPN, huge national story because the Tigers won a game against the Astros. Is it going to happen once every 6 times? We talked about it yesterday on the show. Is it, I'm like, I don't know if they win this 1 out of every 6. I'm not going to bet it. Obviously, they do win it 1 out of every 6 because they won it last night. Huge story in MLB. Huge story for the mainstream media. For us here that do this every day, unusual, but certainly not unheard of.
No, certainly fun to talk about, Teddy, no doubt about it. And I got a feeling we're going to talk a little bit more Houston Astros monster tickets a little bit later in the show, so certainly stay tuned for that. Major League Baseball update around. Teddy, we've been shooting a lot of live shows here from the Diplomat Hotel. We had some fun last night and said, you know what, on tape, I'm going to go ahead and say the Philadelphia Phillies are not going to win this game against the Boston Red Sox. I like the run line first 5 innings because I wanted to fade Drew Smyly, especially on the road. Teddy, everything looks so good to me. A 2-0 lead taken into the 5th inning. Then Bryce Harper happened, turns into a 3-2 game after 5. I took the loss in that one. And furthermore, the Phillies bullpen, again with a really good night up there in Boston as they take down and sweep that 2-game interleague series. Another interesting one, Teddy, which, winds blowing in, Yu Darvish pitching really well. That game turns into a shootout. And how about this? We talked about, bullpen woes for maybe the Nationals heading into the wild card race. Nice move here for the Cubs to actually get Craig Kimbrell back and actually had a clean 9th inning save, something to keep in mind. And those Mets, Teddy, once again, keep those tickets in your pockets hot because the Mets continue to win, taking down the Indians again yesterday. And how about those Nats? Fresh after one night, Teddy, struggling a little bit at the plate, only getting 1 run. Oh, yeah, back to double digits.
Yeah, so let me ask you this, Donnie, and I do want to ask you a question because last night we saw the Philadelphia getting a win that they needed, and Bryce Harper with the huge hit that he needed and they needed. I'm going to ask you, do you think there's more life moving forward for Philly or Boston, 2 of the more disappointing contenders in MLB this season?
I'm going to say maybe the Philadelphia Phillies, but looking forward to it because of only how far you're back and what you're looking forward to and what you're used to be doing. When you look at the Philadelphia Phillies, the one thing, Teddy, which you said it time and time again on this show, boy, it's nice when Aaron Nola's on the mound, but you struggle with the other 4 pitchers that are coming out there. More life probably in Philly, but hey, as you say, Teddy, it's only as good as the next day's pitcher here for us.
Exactly. Now, one other thing we have to talk about here is the win for the Cubs last night because the quotes coming out of the locker room after that game were a little bit different than what we've heard in recent weeks. Look, this is a team that's 43-19 at home. They rallied back from multiple deficits yesterday to win that wild, 12-11 game. Anthony Rizzo, quote, "We haven't won a game like that all year." They scored 9 runs in the 5th through the 7th innings. Teams don't really win when that happens. It's just a good, hard-fought, never-quit win. Chris Bryant, quote, Rizzo said it best to me. That's a season-defining win right there. It kind of felt like we weren't supposed to win that game, but it's always nice when you can steal a win from a good team in the Giants. Potential carryover effect for Chicago moving forward. That might be a momentum inducer.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Look, we keep talking about the same things here each and every, and it's true. That NL wildcard race and some of these NL divisions are certainly going to be up for grabs and keep you through. We're at the end of August where me and Teddy really start that focus on football, but there's a lot of meat left on the bone there in Major League Baseball. Round training camp today, Teddy. Surprise, surprise. I didn't want to include Antonio Brown today for you, so now we can have a nice, clean show in this one. But we are going to talk wide receivers here in the next upcoming segment. The Cardinals and Crabtree agree to terms. We talked about it a little bit earlier on the show, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. Come in for a workout. Everything looks good. Can't agree to a deal. But, hey, push comes to shove. Crabtree's back in the fold here for the Cardinals to join Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk. On the heels of that, Kevin White released from the Cardinals. Remember, a lot of fanfare, Teddy, coming out of West Virginia. Super upside here. Speed, strength. He has it all. Just can't stay injured. And as they say in the NFL, you can't make the club in the tub. Kevin White certainly always seeming to get himself in those situations. And an update yesterday on Chargers Melvin Gordon. Now he is resigned to the fact, Teddy. Looks like he's going to hold out at least into the regular season. Something to keep an eye on. And Amari Cooper, we updated yesterday, hasn't practiced since August 6th. He says, you know what? There's a game tomorrow. I'm going to be out there playing on the field, so good news for those Dallas Cowboys backers. And Seahawks wide receiver DJ Metcalf had surgery, the giant coming out of college. He's week to week at this point. Pete Carroll did give an update. So around the league, talking wide receivers, Teddy, what's good around the league here for us in the NFL?
Well, let's start with the running back, because obviously of all the names we mentioned, Melvin Gordon, the biggest name, who is still sitting out from training camp. And all I can do is sigh. I mean, running backs are screwed. I feel bad for running backs, but frankly, you can't pay them. And it shows you can't pay running backs. And when you look at the data, you can't pay running backs. So I understand what Melvin Gordon wants. And I understand what Melvin Gordon probably deserves. But at that position, look, Austin Eckler. You ever hear of Austin Eckler? Only because he's the backup running back there. What's he at, a Western Colorado State or something? 5.2 yards per carry behind Gordon last year. They'll be fine. Gordon is meaningful, but the drop-off between a top-tier running back and a second-tier running back isn't worth teams blowing up their salary cap. And the Chargers, worth noting, their season win total still sitting at 10. Yeah, there's been some under money, but not a flood of under money based on the ongoing situation with Melvin Gordon. For the Cardinals, signing Crabtree, look, they need every weapon they can get. Good move. Thumbs up. Crabtree taking the deal that he turned down a couple of weeks ago. Good move, rather than sitting out. But is this really going to make Arizona better? Their problem is in the trenches, particularly on the offensive line. When you have a young QB, a rookie QB, playing behind a bad offensive line, sometimes that gets ugly, regardless of how many weapons that you have. Last but not least, let's talk Kevin White, because you get drafted high. It means you get a fat first check. Doesn't mean you get a fat second one. Bye-bye, Kevin White. We'll see you in the Arena Football League or the XFL or somewhere else. Moving on down the road.
Overnight line movers right here at SPRodds.com, the single best place on the internet to get those line moves. Whether I'm sitting at the Diplomat, whether Teddy's out in Las Vegas, these lines are moving all the time. Check in, get those line moves, because we've got an interesting one that we're going to talk about today. Those hot Nationals getting back on track last night with another double-digit performance at the plate for their offense. How about this boost in the arm, Teddy? Mad Max back in the saddle, and this line is moving up north of minus 200. Now, the question that we always have here for us, Teddy, as gamblers, as sports guys just watching it, you get that guy back in the saddle. Is it going to be old Max Scherzer? Are we going to ease him in? Are we going to be a pitch count tonight, Teddy? Should be a good one here. Scherzer, Brault, Nationals, Pirates.
And let's start with this. Brault has been pretty good. His last 10 starts, you get up a total of 16 runs, 15 of them earned. He's not an ace. He's not Scherzer, but he's been solid and consistent, although that Nationals offense is in a pretty good role right now, which is not the case for Pittsburgh. Clint Hurdle, quote, offensively, we haven't been able to connect the dots. We haven't been able to take advantage of little windows of opportunity to make them bigger opportunities. It's never easy to do that against Max Scherzer and company. Scherzer's, quote, honestly, the toughest part about this whole thing is I feel like the carrot's right in front of my face, that it's such a day-to-day thing that any day it could turn. You always wake up every single day thinking today's the day you're going to wake up and not feel anything, and you're going to go out there and you're going to throw it and you're not going to feel any pain whatsoever. And you go off and running because it's not a serious injury. That's been the most frustrating part. He is expected to be on a pitch count tonight, likely fewer than 100, according to Dave Martinez. But the markets say, doesn't matter. Washington's lineup's hitting. Pittsburgh's isn't. And with Scherzer on the hill, the Nats, worthy of a bet, are all the early money coming for Washington this morning.
Boy, how about a shot in the arm that would be, Teddy, for the Washington Nationals? Get a healthy Max Scherzer down the back set to try to clinch your wild card spot, or maybe even make an outside run at those Atlanta Braves. Let's keep it moving. And tonight, Sportsbook Review is going to be in the house for this one. Jags and Dolphins total moving up, but also we have some line movement here on the side. Checking out SBRodds.com right now, Teddy. Seeing the Dolphins now at a -2, and we're getting some 38.5s on the board that is showing up. If you watch the football game tonight, it is a national game. You will see him on the sidelines holding up a placard that says Teddy_covers. Give him a follow on Twitter. Teddy, Jags, Dolphins. What are we looking at here?
Are you going to the game for real?
Yeah, we're going to the game tonight. Yep, sure.
That's awesome. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've never been to an NFL preseason game live. Let's talk about the Jags, because the Jags, Doug Marrone sat, 30 guys in week 1. He sat 30 guys in week 2. This week he announced the 9 guys that are going to be out. Marquis Lee, Alfred Blue, a bunch of linebackers, a bunch of tight ends, et cetera, et cetera. Not on that list is Nick Foles, who is one hell of a lot better for overs than Gardner Minshew has been in the last couple games. Minshew's been pretty rough. Foles is going to play. Fournette's going to play. The starting receivers are going to play. The starting offensive line is going to play. None of these guys have played yet. So it's clear that we're seeing Jacksonville take this game a little bit more seriously than they've taken the last few. As for Miami, obviously they have the QB competition with Fitzpatrick and Rosen. Rosen, with the quotes coming yesterday from Flores, saying, well, right now he's a second stringer. His quote, "I don't need any additional drive or hunger. I got plenty of chips on my shoulder. I'm just trying to be the best player that I can be." Nonetheless, Fitzpatrick, the starter. Rosen will be on the second team today. But again, that's a QB battle. Hence, market money for the over. Lots of quarterbacks with something to prove on both sides of the football tonight. Hence the big money on the over between the Jags and the Dolphins.
We had a nice little segue, Teddy, last night as we hit the Hard Rock Casino. And tonight we will be at the Hard Rock Stadium. So making our way around Florida here with all this Hard Rock type situations. Now, this is the one I wanted to bring up here because this is interesting. And to be honest, doing this a long time, watching lines and $2 lines, $3 lines, the Astros, it's the haves and the have-nots in baseball, especially moving down the stretch with teams that, not so much in tank mode per se, but teams that are just really good. The line is outrageous again. -500 here, Teddy, on the board tonight for Zimmerman versus Cole, a total of 8. And look, we talk about it many, many times. You can't really take what happened last night and try to apply it today. 2 different pitchers, different lineups, different situations here. But it's crazy to see another ridiculous line here in Major League Baseball. -500, Teddy, those Houston Astros.
Well, it's not a ridiculous line. It's a bet. The markets don't put up ridiculous lines. Sometimes you see a bad opener. The markets will pound it and say, this is what the line is supposed to be. Cole's been as good as any pitcher in baseball this year. His last 14 starts, 10-0 with a .198 ERA and 126 strikeouts. He was American League Pitcher of the Month in June. He was the American League Pitcher of the Month in July. He's dominated the Tigers. Both starts against Detroit last year, 17 strikeouts over 10.2 innings of work. Zimmerman for Detroit, he's 1-8 with an ERA of 6.66. Okay, he's had plenty of rough outings. It is worth noting, though. Good quote from Ron Gardenhire yesterday, as the Tigers executed defensively down the stretch to get all those Houston runners off the base paths. They had a big double play. They had a cutoff, a nice throw from the outfield, and the cutoff guy nailed him at third in the 8th. These are the things we kind of struggled through, Gardenhire said. We work on them a lot. We talk about them a lot. In a game like that, it's nice to see. We made 2 big defensive plays, and hopefully they'll think about that and realize how important it is to catch the ball, throw the ball to the cutoff man, and do it right. They did it on Wednesday, and it worked out really great. More of that from Detroit can only be a positive. That being said, they deserve to be $4 dogs again today, especially with Houston coming off that embarrassing loss last night.
Yeah, we'll see if we'll lead off another segment tomorrow saying another -500 favorite goes down. So we'll be sure to check in on that betting show for that and a lot more. Watch what you bet right here on sportsbookreview.com. The Giants quarterback heats up in Cincinnati, or does it, Teddy? Bengals favored -3 total, 42.5. 7 o'clock tonight on NFL Game Pass live from Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. Those Giants look pretty good, Teddy, especially on offense over the first 2 games. We'll see if it carries over tonight. Giants 2-0 in the preseason. The Bengals 1-1 in the preseason. What gives tonight here?
Well, the quotes out of Cincinnati don't have me excited about the Bengals as 3-point chalk in this game. First-year head coach Zach Taylor, quote, "You won't see the starters play that long. I feel confident that we'll get some good work in, however long that is in the first half. Guys be ready to play against Seattle in the opener. We will not play starters the first half and into the third quarter like it has been done in the past. I think the trend, I don't really care what the trend is. The guys will play a series or 2 shorter than what has happened in years past." So that's not really a bet on quote for Cincy, and they've taken a whole bunch of money, and all the comments from Taylor again, remember, Taylor's like a McVay clone and a Shanahan clone. And he comes from we don't worry too much about the preseason type of attitude behind him. The Giants sure looked like a team that wants to be winning preseason games. Although last week's win against the Bears had everything to do with Chicago not showing up. Daniel Jones has been the best QB in the NFL in the preseason with more than 10 attempts, 16 and 19 passes, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs, 151.8 QB rating. Again, the highest among quarterbacks in the NFL right now with more than 10 attempts. Of course, this will be the first time leaving the friendly confines of New Jersey, and MetLife Stadium might be a different experience from Jones here after Eli Manning gets the start.
Man, it's August 22nd, Teddy. September 5th, the live Bullets go. And after that, we're off and ready. We'll see everybody starting those dress rehearsals tonight. We'll have some fun watching those and talking about them as well. Mets looking for an interleague sweep Thursday over the Indians. Can't get enough of these Mets. Stroman on the mound yesterday, rebounds. They get a nice victory. 7:05 tonight, live on MLB Extra Innings City Field, New York, New York. The Mets favored -135 with a total of 8.5. Syndergaard's going to take the mound versus Savali tonight. We'll see if the Indians can bounce back because, as we said, Teddy, they also are in a heated playoff race. But those Mets refuse to die here and just keep on running out some of these big boys on the mound pitching tonight from Citi Field up in Flushing.
Yeah, they did use up their bullpen last night. 6 innings of bullpen work after Marcus Stroman left with a hamstring injury early. But those Mets relievers, we talked about their struggles a lot earlier in the season. They had the 4th highest ERA in all of baseball right now. But since the All-Star break, when the Mets are an MLB best, 26-10, bullpen has an ERA under 4. And again, last night they got the job done. Mickey Callaway, quote, "That was the missing piece of the puzzle from the beginning. Early in the season, we were doing the same things late in the game that we're doing now, just our bullpen was struggling. And we knew, hey, if we get our bullpen straightened out, we're going to win a lot of games because we would have won a lot of games in the first half had that been the case." And obviously that bullpen right now is in excellent shape. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, Brad Hand, made the All-Star game for the 3rd straight year. He's blown 4 of his last 9 save chances, including each of his last 3. This is a guy who converted 27 of his first 28 save opportunities. Terry Francona, we can't run from Brad. To get where we want to go, we got to get him hot. I don't want Cleveland in a game. Don't trust them to have a closer. Mets are paying for this better.
And one more here in the NFL, Teddy. Get excited. Cam Newton. Expected to see some time for the Patriots. Teddy, I know how excited you are by this. Patriots -3.5 total of 42. Some interesting news coming out today from New England. Patrick Chung, cocaine possession. The Patriots sent out just a few moments ago a statement to the NFL, I guess trying to explain it. And, of course, they're going to say they have no further comment at this time. But we know how Belichick really likes these distractions, especially heading into the regular season. Panthers 1-1. Patriots 2-0 live tonight, Gillette Stadium.
Sure. So, from all indications, it looks like New England's taking this game seriously, in large part because of the short turnaround. Belichick, quote, "That Monday to Thursday window is the same one that we'll have later in the regular season, so that will give us a good opportunity as players, coaches, and just everybody to work in a short week schedule. Try to prioritize and get things done that we need to do, similar to what we'll have to do a couple of months from now." It's a similar type of situation, kind of a similar situation to that from a preparation standpoint. We have to prepare for the game. We just have to do it in a different amount of time. And that's the exact amount of time we'll have to work with this week. So we'll try to take advantage of that. That means Belichick is game planning for this. He's concentrating on this. They're working on communication things. It's not necessarily what you're going to see from a lot of teams in August, but the attention level to detail for New England this week appears to be, and the urgency for New England this week appears to be greater than the average team. And, of course, Jarrett Stidham has been the best third stringer in the NFL so far this season. We don't know how much or if he's going to play tonight. That being said, Stidham has been a monster. And if you see him in the game, that makes New England perhaps a bet on. Though the Panthers, they beat the Pats week 3 of the preseason last year. They won against the Jags in week 3 in 2017. They lost by only 2 to the Pats in week 3, 2016. Rivera tends to take these games seriously, but boy, Rivera saying he wants to get 3 to 4 series out of Cam Newton tonight. He hasn't played the first 2 preseason games. Then Kyle Allen coming up second. Look, last week was Taylor Heineke and Will Greer. 31 pass attempts, 150 yards between them, all dink and dunk. Dink and dunk ain't going to get it done against New England's defense. Patriots or pass for this better.
How about this one, Teddy? Off the mic segment today. It's all about the money. How about the Pac-12 trying to take a look at going at 9 a.m. kickoffs on the West Coast to get that coveted 12 p.m. window, get a little bit more money in the Pac-12's pocket, get a little bit more visibility, even though we really enjoy, Teddy, Pac-12 after dark over here on the East Coast. But it's interesting that some of these schools, because how much would you have to change? Like, think of the boosters or the players. Are you showing up at 5 a.m. in the morning? You just try to have your coffee. Can the fans get there? We're going to be tailgating at 3 a.m. It's an interesting topic because, as we said, TV drives the market. That's where the income's going to come from, especially for the Pac-12 network and also the Pac-12 getting that visibility on the East Coast. Interesting conversation, interesting topic, Teddy. Do you think they should eventually go to it? Because it does have some support here with those Pac-12 coaches.
No, that doesn't make any sense. A 9 a.m. kickoff it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. You don't see them happen. And when you're talking about all the things that need to happen before kickoff, particularly with the pageantry of college football, 9 a.m. just doesn't work. It's not like that's the only TV spot on Saturdays. You have the 3:30 Eastern time, 12:30 Pacific, that the Pac-12 always gets teams in. You talk about the Pac-12 after dark. They'll get their TV opportunities. Just doesn't have to be first thing in the morning. Doesn't make sense out here on the West Coast.
No, it doesn't. The body clock doesn't work that way. We've back, and I talk about some ancient Stone Age days, it seems to me, back in the early 90s playing high school football in New Jersey, we would get a 10 o'clock game on some of the road games. We had to show up so early and say, this is un-American, Teddy, to do this. It's kind of interesting that, that much money can possibly flow in, that they would be willing to go to a 9 a.m. kickoff. Certainly interesting stuff. But that's going to do it today for That Betting Show right here on SportsbookReview.com. We're going to head down a little bit later over to the Jaguars and the Miami Dolphins game, so certainly keep in touch here. Thank you once again. He's Teddy Severansky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seaman, right side VP. We'll go over everything and more. Tomorrow is a Football Friday, setting you up for the weekend. Thanks again for tuning in right here on SportsbookReview.com.